Donald Trump finally followed through with his campaign promises and lowered the price of eggs and gas nationwide. I'm totally kidding. He didn't do any of that. What he did do is say that he's going to abolish the Department of Education. Hi, how are you? Welcome back to the Valenti VOD. I'm your host, Chris Valenti, and we got a lot to unpack for you today. Before we get into it, please like, comment, subscribe, do all the shit that YouTubers tell you to do, like hit the notification bell and maybe even tip me $7,000. So, guys, do you remember how during the campaign trail, Donald Trump and the Trump administration were like primarily focused on things that affected like, you know, the average American's lives? Like, hey, we want to lower the price of eggs. We want to lower the price of groceries. We want to lower the price of gas. We want to bring back common sense. Well, it turns out he doesn't believe that common sense is something that can be taught in schools because the Trump administration is now moving forward to abolish the Department of Education. Now, as we already know, Elon Musk and his fucking crony tech weirdo incels are already making their way through the United States Treasury Department. They've already defunded the entirety of U.S. aid, which if you don't know much about U.S. aid, that's just essentially how the United States sends things like vaccines and food and medicine to, you know, like developing nations across the planet. So now that U.S. aid is gone, tens of millions of people will perish. So that's, you know, cool. And now it looks like here in the homeland, Donald Trump and his sycophantic followers have realized how important it is to keep a large portion of the country uneducated, considering that's who they ran on. You know, there's statistics to prove that the more educated you are, the more likely you are to support progressive values, right? It is not a coincidence that red states have lower education rates than blue states. Sorry, big burp there. But yes, so the less educated you are, the more likely you are to vote Republican or to vote conservative. But I've got some clips for you today, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to start off with this. Breaking news. President Trump will be signing an executive order to dismantle the Department of Education. I will shut down the federal Department of Education. We will move everything back to the states where it belongs. Let's play this for you.
And I will shut down the federal Department of Education, and we will move everything back to the states where it belongs and where they can individualize education and do it with the love for their children.
So what he's saying there essentially is that they are making it easier for people to indoctrinate their children into religious zealotry. Now, also note, I've said this before, guys, every accusation is actually a confession to these people. Although they believe that, I don't know, like a fucking freshman in high school is too young to be able to learn, hey, you know how you have a mom and a dad? Well, some people have two dads or two moms. The same people that believe that their children are too young to learn that are not afraid of telling their child that they will burn in eternal hellfire if they break one of the 10 sacred commandments. Guys, this is the end of the education system in the United States, which was already pitiful. And we should have known that this was the end when they decided to put Linda McMahon in charge of the Department of Education. Linda McMahon is the woman from the WWE that you could see getting fucking RKO'd by The Undertaker. Let's keep playing the rest of this clip. The Faith and Freedom Caucus, I think, some sort of Christian fucking zealotry movement. Least Christian man on the planet, by the way.
And I will shut down the federal Department.
So that's all it is. So you see these people cheering. Obviously, these people are not educated, and they're the ones cheering to dismantle the Department of Education, which sets guidelines. For example, guys, I don't know if you know this, but when you were younger, a lot of the people who grew up in the South, they weren't taught about the Civil War. They were taught about the War of Northern Aggression. And the Department of Education decided that that is an insane way to spin history and get people to think that the Union was actually the bad guys in the Civil War. So the Department of Education made it mandatory to change all the textbooks across the nation to change it to the Civil War. This is an example of the Department of Education doing a good thing, or, you know, making it mandatory to teach sex education in schools in order to, you know, decrease the amount of unwanted pregnancies across this nation, which is exactly what the Conservative Party should be advocating for, considering they're the ones who want to limit a woman's right to an abortion. But again, these people don't have any morals. So, speaking of like the Department of Education, I wanted to play this little clip of Senator John Kennedy, the scumbag piece of shit motherfucker himself. Listen to this.
To my friends who are upset, I would say with respect, you know, call somebody who cares. They better get used to this. It's USAID today. It's going to be Department of Education tomorrow.
So notice how he said it's USAID today, it's USAID today, it's Department of Education tomorrow. Well, then that begs the question, well, who took down USAID? Because it wasn't an elected official. It wasn't President Donald Trump. It wasn't any senator or congressman. It was unelected billionaire Nazi sympathizer Elon Musk and his incel fucking crony tech bro fucking losers who decided to worm their way into U.S. politics so they can hack into the $5 trillion within the U.S. Treasury and then reallocate it into their own fucking pockets so that they can do shit like create an anti-Christian a pro-Christian task force that is designed to target anti-Christian rhetoric throughout the United States. I'm not fucking around. We actually have this right here. Listen to this. This is as of today. This is from the Washington Post. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the wrong one here. Here, we have President Donald J. Trump.
To confront
Watch
such
this.
weaponization and religious persecution, today I'm signing an executive order to make our Attorney General, who's a great person, she's going to be a great Attorney General.
Pam Bondi is the Attorney General. She is not a great person. This is a woman who stole another person's dog after Hurricane Katrina. This is also a woman who's a fucking Scientologist. She's not even Christian. She has donated so much money and helped raise money for Scientology, which is an actual cult. Granted, so is MAGA, so makes sense.
General Pam Bondi, the head of a task force, brand new, to eradicate anti-Christian bias. About time, right? Anti-Christian bias.
There is no anti-Christian bias in the United States. In fact, there is a anti-non-Christian bias where if you do not practice Christianity, you are very likely to be ostracized by communities, specifically the communities throughout red states, right? Now, guys, don't forget that while the Trump administration is vowing to dismantle the Department of Education, they are also going to create their own education, much like how the Hitler Youth Program replaced the entirety of Germany's education system. People often forget. They're like, well, what did they do with the kids in Germany during Hitler's reign? Did they go to school? No, there were no schools. There were no schools in Germany during Hitler's reign. They all were sent to the Hitler Youth Program, where they did not learn things like arithmetic and poetry. Instead, they learned how to throw grenades, shoot rifles, and how to count up to 25 so they could properly load their rifles. That was it. And Donald Trump is now trying to create his own Trump department, the Department of Trump-education, right? Where they teach these people about their loyal God King, Donald Trump, and the real president, Elon Musk, and how, they're trying to just dismantle the separation of church and state, which is an integral part of the United States. This country is inherently reliant on the freedom of religion, right? And freedom of religion comes with freedom from religion. You can practice whatever religion you want, but you cannot force me to practice your religion. However, it seems like that is already changing, because as we've seen in states like Oklahoma, the Oklahoma education head discusses why he's mandating public schools to teach the Bible. A new directive from Oklahoma's top education official requires all public schools to teach the Bible and the Ten Commandments. Now, note, they don't care if you're Jewish, if you're Hindu, if you're an atheist, if you're agnostic. They don't care what religion you practice. You will now be forced to read and study the Bible in all public schools. Now, why is that? It's the same reason why we spoke about earlier. Indoctrination. You want to get these kids when they're young, malleable, and gullible. Convince them that the bullshit known as Christianity is actually the law of the land, and then they will be more likely to subscribe to the notions of tying in religious belief with actual laws, right? And we're starting to see this, where these fucking psychopaths who think that abortion is murder are getting women killed in states like South Carolina. If you believe abortion is murder, right, then that means in a state like South Carolina, where murder can be punishable by death because they still practice capital punishment, what you are advocating for is that a woman who gets an abortion should be executed. That is what it means. And now the thing is, this is how they're going to get these things passed, because no sane person person is going to say if a woman gets an abortion, she should be executed. But a lot of these brainwashed, conservative, MAGA rat, himbo chud fucking idiots would say something like abortion is murder. Now, if they stood for that and they passed legislation that would classify abortion as murder, that would put all women at risk because there are states where murder is punishable by death. You see what I'm saying? This ties back to what I'm talking about, how the American education system is being dismantled. As long as the people are too uneducated to understand what is happening to them, the elite will be able to do whatever they want to us. This is why I make content like this. I'm trying to keep you guys educated. I know a lot of you probably voted for Trump, probably young 18-year-old white men who voted for the first time who are genuinely confused because Kamala Harris was a shit option. Nobody voted for her in a primary. The Democrats ran a terrible fucking campaign, and of course, they did. This isn't on Trump being the best politician ever. Half of this is on Trump doing a really good campaign, and the other half is on the Democrats doing a dog shit campaign. But when it comes to actual policy that we are seeing being dropped in this new fascist state of America, it is evident to everybody across the board that these are not good things. You can practice your religion. You can teach your child whatever you want to teach your child at home. But passing legislation that will force all children in public schools to read the Bible, doing things like dismantling the Department of Education, creating a task force that is meant to target anti-Christian rhetoric, which doesn't fucking exist. These are all steps that you would take if you were trying to create a society that doesn't have separation of church and state. That is the hellscape that Donald Trump and the Conservative Party are trying to create within the United States. We need to stay vigilant. We need to stay active. We need to be sharing this information as much as possible and just never stop fucking fighting. There's probably a protest in your city. Look up the anti-Trump protests. They're happening across all 50 fucking states. I need to see you people out there physically. I will be out there here in New York. Regardless, thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe, comment down below, hit that notification bell. Thank you so much for being here. I love you all. And I'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one. How do I end this?